It is now 7:06. You have exactly 8 hours and 54 minutes to ponder the error of your ways. Any questions?
Yeah. Does Barry Manilow know that you raid his wardrobe?
Hello and welcome to our review of The Breakfast Club, 1985, written, directed, produced by John Hughes, starring Molly Ringwald, Judd Nelson, Emilio Estevez, Anthony Michael Hall, Ali Sheedy. And that's pretty much the whole cast except Paul Gleason and the janitor guy.
Whoever plays the janitor.
I chose this movie, and the reason I chose it was because this is a very important movie to me. It's one of my all-time favorites. I also liked it because this was me in high school, as in, like, I was about their age when this movie was made, and I thought, since we're doing a generational thing, it'd be interesting to see what Damian thought, who had never seen this movie before.
I admit, I had never seen it before, so going into this, I was completely blind. I had no idea what to expect.
So he's just seen it, and now we're going to give our opinions on the film. And as I said, it's meant a lot to me, but it was actually quite interesting to watch it as an adult now. But I have seen this movie, like, I couldn't believe how many times I could have easily just started quoting the movie. It was crazy. I didn't realize just how much I'd seen this movie until we were watching it. But it's interesting, very interesting to watch it as an adult now.
Yeah, well, one thing I really noticed about this movie was, even though it was made in the 80s and it stars a bunch of 80s actors based in an 80s high school, not much has really changed. Because me, considering the fact that I grew up in my high school years were in the 2000s, pretty much, despite maybe some fashion changes,
Yeah.
those were people that still exist to this day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of generations, even past mine, still relate to this movie because it deals with a lot of great stuff. But we're going to hear a lot about my positives. I'd like to hear what you thought. Generally, did you like the movie?
I did like the movie, yeah. Some positives that I did have about it. I love the cast. I think all of them played their parts very, very well. I did enjoy the storyline. And I think another thing that I really enjoyed about the fact was something we kind of discussed before this, but the fact that their solutions to all the characters' problems never got resolved. They didn't make it a point to say, we're going to fix these problems. And I really like that because it leaves you as the viewer kind of thinking, well, what is going to happen when they go back to school on Monday?
Yeah, it literally is 8 hours or 9 hours in the lives of these people, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. And I like the fact that, yeah, you get a glimpse into each one of their lives, but you also don't know so much. There's still an air of mystery about every single one of them. There's references to other friends. You can tell that some of them have already known each other. They might have talked a few times in the halls. Maybe they have the same class together. But they all have their own separate lives, and they all kind of come together in this one afternoon. And I think the dynamic of them all just really meshes so very well with each other.
Very cool.
What about you? What are some positives you had?
I think it's terrifically written. Seeing it now, after seeing so many other movies, this is still one of the best high school teen movies. And I would say just an actual, in reality, just a great script. Even though, like you said, it's a little dated with, Barry Manilow references or Eat My Shorts. We might not have said stuff like that, but it really holds true. But what I like is there's some nuances in the script that actually deal with, there could be a lot more darker stuff, but I love that they never try to solve all their problems. That's why sitcoms don't really work anymore. And we used to watch stuff like The Brady Bunch and leave it, well, I used to watch stuff like The Brady Bunch and Leave It to Beaver, because they would resolve their problems in 24 minutes. Here, we don't get that. We don't know if they even talk to each other in school. And I think that's great. It's a wonderful script. John Hughes, he wrote a couple of teen movies, 16 Candles, Pretty in Pink, Say Anything. Just an amazing guy. He seemed to, grasp that thing. The cast is amazing, and I just think it's a lot deeper than I knew it was deep as a kid, but sometimes as a kid, you find even the weirdest movies deep. But when I look at it now, I'm so happy that it lives up, and it's still deep. And as I was telling you, one of my favorite lines in this movie is the Ali Sheedy character, Allison, says that when you get older, your heart dies. And as I get older, I see that in the world so much. I see people younger now, their hearts starting to die and give up. And this movie helped me fight that. Like, I try to fight it every day, and every year it gets harder. So watching this as an adult was quite interesting, because it's like, oh yeah, I still got to work on that. I can't let my heart die.
Well, I think one of the most important things to remember about this movie is the fact that people tend to judge teenagers for being maybe delinquents, being a little strange and weird. But those aspects, because you are going through can't even talk, I'm so caught up with this movie, is the fact that those aspects you have in your developmental years, they carry on with you until your adult lives. So that jock character, he probably went on to play sports. The weird character, she probably had a lot of social problems when she got out of high school. And a lot of people just hate on people for that. The younger generations are always given a bad reputation by the older generations. If you had have made this movie today, it could have been easily said, bunch of millennials, nobody cares about their silly problems, but the fact that they're 80s kids, a lot of those people now are adults, such as yourself. And your parents, your grandparents could have easily turned around and said, nobody cares about their problems. And that was one of the things that I really liked about this movie, is the fact that they do have their problems, but it's not something necessarily that's going to ever be fixed. And you have to just kind of live with it and learn how to love and accept yourself, or just keep on living.
And they use broad stereotypes in this, but as you get to know the kids, you actually start picking pieces of, oh, I relate to that, I relate to that one. So you might not see yourself in one of the characters. By the end, you certainly can see yourself in a couple. Now, what are your negatives of this film?
It's definitely a product of the 80s.
Yes.
That is kind
Movies outgrow. You gotta. There are some that are timeless. There are some that can be timeless.
Well, again, I'm gonna be a little bit debatable with that, but coming from somebody that grew up in the 90s and then my teenage years were in the 2000s, this movie is very dated. Their style, their hairstyles, the music itself is just, to me, it's just a little bit too overdone. And I know that was definitely a product of the 80s. Like, giving me a 10 extra year lifespan, if I had grown up with that, I'd have loved it. But just for the fact that I'm outside of that generation, I can't really accept it as the norm.
Agree. The soundtrack's horrible, except for Simple Minds, Don't You Forget About Me.
Yes.
I think that song still works.
I would agree. And
one of your,
that's a
I
classic.
think you like the group Yellow Card.
Yes.
When they actually did a tribute at the MTV, I think they got an award for being ensemble cast, and they all came out. Yellow Card actually redid that song. You should look it up.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I know you're a big fan. So they did that Simple Minds song. There's a reason it still plays on the radio, but the other stuff, I agree. It's pretty nasty, and I love 80s music. It's my era.
You can tell it's the 80s because the guy's got a jean kind of jacket on with jeans.
That never goes out of style.
Oh, it was out of style the moment it came out. It's awful.
Any
Absolutely
other negatives?
Awful. Some other negatives, no. That's pretty much the only problems I have is the fashion and the soundtrack.
Well, it's hard for me. When it's a most loved movie, it's hard, but since I'm reviewing movies, I feel I have to. I know one day somebody's going to remake this movie, because I hate to tell it, it's going to happen. I am now at my life where I'm starting to see tons of 80s, 70s movies. This is going to be remade. If they do remake it, I hope they at least stay true to the script, or at least continue with not trying to solve everybody's problems. But let's see a little bit more, and I'm not the biggest fan of it, but let's see some diversity, okay?
Yes.
Let's see, some, kids of color, kids of different descent, maybe a gay character, maybe a trans character. Let's see a little bit of that. If you're going to remake it, I don't want them to, but if they do, let's go that way. My only other negative is watching this again. I always thought the principal was written a little bit too like a tyrant, but overall, I think they could have toned him down a little bit, because he comes off really villainous, but I think it actually works in this movie. I think that's why you have the janitor character kind of always being like telling him, no, the kids aren't the ones that are changing, it's you. But I think they make him almost too much like a villain, like too much like a villain. They could have toned him down just a little bit. Like, this guy cared for no one.
That's
like
true.
He was like threatening kids. He was like,
That's true.
you know, I'm gonna come find you after school's done and beat the shit out of you and stuff. I just think he should have been toned down a bit, because the script is almost perfect. But honestly, I think they do a pretty good job with him, because there are people like that. And hate to tell you this, spoiler alert, there are teachers like that out there. So again, they're playing stereotypes, but they are out there.
He really reminded me, to be quite honest, if we're talking about that character, he reminded me a lot of Principal Skinner from The Simpsons. And especially that one kind of meme that's going around. No, it's not me that's wrong, it's the children who are wrong. That's exactly what he reminded me of. And it just, going off of him, yeah, I do think he is a little bit overbearing, and he didn't really have any solid meaning to be that way.
Yeah.
He was kind of just being mean for the sake of being mean, as if it was some sort of power thing for him.
But as I'm an old guy now, I can relate to the fact he was almost written like the kids. We never got to see his backstory. Maybe he had a tragic backstory too. What I'm saying is that they don't sit there and try to analyze all the characters. This is a bitter man. We don't know why. We don't know. He may have... I'm writing script here. He may have had a dying child at home. We don't know.
Yeah, the principal story.
Anyhow, before we get into our ratings, what character did you identify with any of these characters, or bits and pieces?
There were bits and pieces. I could, like you mentioned earlier, you could kind of take aspects from every single one of the characters.
Absolutely.
And each one of them has their own struggles that they're going through. Majority, I would probably have to associate myself with Bender, Paul Judd's, is it?
Judd Nelson.
Judd Nelson.
Yeah.
See, I haven't seen this movie before.
Paul Rudd on your head.
Paul Rudd. I would have to associate myself with him the most, not because I have a criminal background or I constantly steal things and carry a knife around with me, but just I love the fact that he's so honest and outspoken, and that is very much who I am.
Yes, he is. Trust me, I know this. When I met him, I didn't even think I liked the kid, okay? I didn't, honestly, because he was a little too much like John Bender. But okay, continue.
Now I feel personally insulted.
I wouldn't be here if I didn't like you, right?
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Nobody cares. And then I guess another kind of character that I really, really associated myself with was the really quiet girl. The one
Ali
who had
Sheedy?
yeah,
Allison.
the one who had the makeover at the end there.
Yeah.
Because I was very quiet in high school. It's not like to the point where I was chewing my nails and spitting them out, or like shaking my dandruff on my heart, which was really gross, by the way. And then that sandwich she made, that was kind of messed
Okay,
up.
just so you know, we didn't do all of that in the 80s.
I mean, you guys were all about the sugar, the white sugar, if you know what I mean.
I don't remember playing with my dandruff.
No, but I mean, never mind.
We've talked way too much about the dandruff.
Yeah, never mind. But those two characters primarily. I was into sports in high school, but I never really was all that popular. So I can never really associate with the girl, like the Queenie kind of character. But I definitely have aspects. I can understand where she's coming from. But I think those two characters primarily are those that I would associate myself with at the very least.
My characters were Brian, which was Anthony Michael Hall. I wasn't smart, but I kind of had that easygoing, trying desperately to make friends with anybody I could find. I wasn't actually one of the kids that got bullied in school. I actually was friends with different types. Like, I had friends that were athletes.
You had friends?
I had friends,
Wow.
yes.
Surprising.
But I wasn't smart, but I had that kind of innocence, and my life wasn't as bad. Then with that, I also, the weird girl as well, the Ali Sheedy character, only because I think they hint at a lot of darker stuff in her past, and I have a feeling that's, I related to a lot of that. And besides trying to kiss up to everybody and trying for everyone to like me, like Brian, there was a side of me that was also trying to hide because I didn't want everybody to know me, so...
I like how you're going into, like, you have a dark, troubled past, as if you think we're going to make a movie about you next. The Devlin story.
Well, you
Tune
never
in.
know. You never know, and then we'll review it and rate it here. Yeah, that's happening.
It's
I'm
a
like,
0
yeah.
out of 5. 0
Yes,
out of 5.
lovely.
Home
Now,
Alone.
what about this movie? What do you give this movie?
Honestly, if I think about it, I'd probably have to give this movie a 3 out of 5. 3 out of 5. So it was good. It wasn't bad. but it wasn't great either. It was good. I would accept it for what it is.
All right. I'm going to have to go 4.5 on this. And maybe even in between 4.5 and 5. I just am endeared. I saw it when it came out. This was the fashions of my school. Just seeing it was reminiscent. So it's one of those, you know what that is like. You'll see that when you get old, when you watch old movies.
When they remake it and they have the emo kids.
When you start seeing old movies and you say, oh, I remember when.
Yeah, I'm never going to sound like that, Grandpa.
So I'm going to go and listen to my Simple Minds albums now and my 80s stuff.
And you can tell you're old. You've got albums.
And thank you very much for watching this. We're going to continue making these, and we can't wait to hear what you think about our reviews.
As always, make sure you comment. Let us know how you think we're doing, what you want us to do next. We're always taking suggestions. Hit that like button if you like what we're doing. Make sure to subscribe if you want to continue seeing us. Make sure that you tune in always, and we will see you next time.
The Breakfast Club.